Birds of Prey issue 8, Legacy number 206. Kelly Thompson writing with Javier Pina and David Lopez on the art. So this is the end of like a two-parter, effectively. Although by the end of it, it wasn't as separate as a two-parter as I thought it was.
No.
Like last issue, I thought, oh, this is a little mini heist thing that'll not tie in that much, and then the cliffhanger hit, and I'm like, oh no, this has actually got big ramifications for where we're going
next. Yeah, it's
next.
not like a background cliffhanger. It is definitely the next story.
Yeah, it's a major cliffhanger in this narrative that's ongoing. Yes. But anyway, we left off last issue with the birds infiltrating this. Well, let's say infiltrating. Obviously, Vixen has access to it.
Yeah, it's an art show. Yeah. Not an art show.
A fashion show.
A fashion show.
Yeah. So I don't remember them walking out with paintings and sculptures around them. No. So they're doing this. I actually love the banter at the start where Dinah's talking to Babs over the comms and is like, hey, did you know what this plan was? And that's why you conveniently made sure you weren't a part of it and you're like over in the hotel doing all the computer stuff. And she's basically like, yep. So, cut to the fashion show. We got a nice big 2-page layout. There's a lot of 2-page spreads in this issue, actually. But they're all on the stage, and yeah, it is what it is. We even have Sin in the crowd talking to this detective that's there, who seems like he's going to be a recurring character.
Yeah, and I love her not knowing what to give her name as, right? So she just has a bunch of the S's, and he goes, what are you, a snake? Like, I thought that was a funny little...
Yeah, well, she's basically realizing, oh, maybe I shouldn't give my real name, but I don't have, like, a hero name. So she eventually just says, call me the Caterer, and it's in this big, bold font. And he's like, that's terrible. And then it's not right away, it's like a couple of pages later, but, like, the demon in her head is
Magira?
Like, yeah, we're not calling ourselves that. And she's like, calm down, it was just a joke. And then she also says, hey, let's have some of this champagne. She's like, no, I'm like 16. I'm not having champagne. And she's like, child, I've been alive since before time began. I can have some champagne.
Yeah. I love how the art handles this, too, because they have her in profile, but, they do the whole line of action thing in filmmaking. So when she's facing left, it's Magira, and her face is green, and she has, like, tendrils. But when she's facing right, it's Sin. And even the backgrounds are different colors, so it plays very cinematically for kind of a split personality thing. Yeah,
the birds notice there's a bunch of beefcake men who have entered the stage.
The amount of times beefcake is said in this started to annoy me, and then it rounded back around to being comical.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then obviously, what's her face? What's is it Meridian?
Meridian.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remember like what her current name is. But she shows up as like, oh hey, there's something bad's coming. And it turns out all of the beefcakes are actually being mind controlled. So there's a big 2-page spread where Barda's holding like 2 beefcake men in either hand, which is really funny. And then the next page, biggest laugh of the issue, I think, by far, is that Barda has taken off her swimsuit, and there's like a sort of censored like classic Barda face covering her ass. And the other's like, Barda, why have you not got any clothes? And she's like, I thought the clothes had mind control. And they're like, yeah, their clothes, not ours. And she's like,
my mistake.
Yeah. So for the rest of the issue, when she's fighting anyone, it's just, it does the Austin Powers thing where there'll be like a bad guy's hand or something like in front of the chest or the crotch or whatever.
It is handled very, very, very comically, and it never feels skeevy, Barda's kind of the perfect character for this to happen to.
Oh, she doesn't care. Yeah, she doesn't care about being naked.
Yeah, it's not even that not being, but it's been established that, in times of battle, she is the one that kind of quips things. So her ripping off the clothes to fight too, it just adds this extra layer of comedy. And the art here on that page you talk about the classic Barda covering her butt, just the expressions on everybody, even down to Sin, who's in the foreground, like the art just nails it.
She's like, I think I'm maybe too young to see this. And then Canary goes, I think we're all too young to see this.
God, this is the banter I love from Kelly Thompson. Everything that I've read from Kelly Thompson.
Yeah, the banter.
This is what makes it sticks out as her book.
Yeah, the banter's on form. Babs has like a Superman moment where she's like, oh crap, like there's more villains showing up. Like whatever these monstery things that are controlling the beefcakes are, or whatever they are under their skin, looks dangerous. So Babs has like a shirt open, Batgirl, symbols underneath. Meanwhile, we get these gorgeous 2-page spreads of all the birds fighting these various monsters. that came out of the Beefcake Men, and the whole time Dinah's like, okay, someone tell Babs not to come over. Like, she can't come over. This still might be a trap. And we get a big, again, another 2-page spread where she lets out a canary cry. It's very pretty. You know, it's a very simple color scheme that went with here.
So the color work here is fantastic because it's the blues and the oranges and how they complement. And then as it gets further away from the birds, it gets murkier and more like sketch lines.
Yeah.
For like the impact, and yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's all gorgeous. I think what I liked about this issue, obviously I like the banter and I like the vibes, but I think they did a lot of setup last issue for this, and I was like, okay, that was a fun enough issue, but am I going to enjoy what this mission actually is? And I think I did. Like, see, I think one of my favorite things about it is that it did sort of like build Sin up as a character a little bit. I think giving her own couple of scenes where she was talking to the detective, and then Megara in her head, I think that was like, okay, you're doing a really good job of focusing on her because she's the character who needs the most attention in terms of making us care about her. She's not a brand new character. Sin has existed previously, obviously.
Yeah.
But compared to all the others, like, people are probably coming in fans of at least Babs and Dinah, probably Cass, to a lesser extent Barda. But, you know, Tom King's, you know, Mr. Miracle wasn't that long ago, so there's probably some relatively recent fans of her too. It makes sense to try and build up one of the newer or lesser known characters and make her feel like a fun part of the team. And I think those scenes really stood out to me as being like, okay, I'm just enjoying getting to know the characters in this new status quo, in this context. You know, it's not fighting all the time. Obviously, the back half of the issue is a lot of fighting, but the last issue and the first half of this one were all character stuff for the most part. It wasn't like all just fighting. I mean, the one fight we did have last issue was like the laser tag thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and like here too, you're talking about Sin. I do like the dynamic between her and Megara, and it only seems like so far, just in this one instance, like, is that just going on in her head? Is that what that's supposed to represent? Like, is she really, when Megara takes over, has like the Tindrily stuff going on? You know, so it adds these character things that make her feel unique compared to the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think she is speaking in a different voice at the very least. I don't know if she's physically transforming. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. It's hard to say right now.
But for the sense of us, for the reader, you know, this is the art and writing make it clear that they're two separate people occupying the same space. You know, so I do like that, and the way that they chose to show that was pretty funny.
Yeah, so after the fight's done, Babs is there. I love that she does the big Superman moment where she, like, you know, gets ready into her outfit, but then she actually shows up after the fighting is done anyway. There's some jokes here where Barda just grabs a curtain and, like, sort of wraps it around her as like a toga. But there's a bright light appears, and Babs gets sort of entranced by it and walks into it, and the light kidnaps her. It takes her. So there's a bit of emotion. Canary cries out. Not the canary cry, just, you know, a normal cry. And the art here again is very pretty in this last couple of pages. I think there's a different artist here towards the end because there's two artists on this issue. Still pretty solid though. I think it helps that the coloring still there. That's consistent throughout. But basically, Dinah's like, okay, under no circumstances is anyone going to follow me in. But then that last page looks like the entire team is following her into the portal or wherever they're going. So yeah, like, this is obviously a big setup for the next story, because wherever they're going to be at the start of next issue is very important here. So yeah, very cool. I am looking forward to having the regular artist back. Don't get me wrong.
Leonardo Romero still. This is still pretty solid though, I would say.
We said that last issue where this fill-in artist did, you know, complement and sort of try to fit the style established, even though it can't be the exact same. Obviously, there is the problem a little bit where you can sort of tell there's a change in artist towards the end, maybe because the fill-in just couldn't quite get the issue done in time. Yeah. So we have a second fill-in to patch it up. But I had a lot of fun with this one. I like this more than the last issue even, because it just had so much good, like... I think because it wasn't cutting around, because last issue there was a lot of like, okay, here's a scene here with two characters, we'll move somewhere else, have a scene with two characters, we'll move somewhere else. This was all the characters in one location, so even though it was jumping around the characters, they were all kind of connected to each other, they were all in the same scenario, so it all felt like it was all feeding into each other, and I really liked that vibe. Yeah.
Well, and then too, once the action starts to get going, I was getting very confused by like, are we supposed to know who these are? What type of aliens are there? Vixen says like they're an animal, and then after the fight, they're talking and they're they're asking Dinah what the hell all this was, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And she's like, yeah, it's like we're fighting about three things that we don't understand. So then it starts also getting to the time aspect of it too, with maps and the whole reason that maps is there and jumping around. So I thought that was a nice little writing touch to where it's like, yeah, no, you are supposed to be confused. There's a lot going on. It's pretty chaotic, and the creators here handle it very well.
Yeah, it's obviously that's a plot beat they're setting up for why is there so many different weird enemies kind of coming after us. Is it because of timey-wimey shenanigans? Is it something specific that causes that? It's definitely something they're building up to.
Yeah.
So, no, good stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, I have not much more to add on this one. What are you giving the issue?
I'm gonna give this I'll give this a 9.
9? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll quite go that high. I think I'm gonna go 8.5, but I mean I'm not far off. Really enjoyable time.
I saved this for last this week, and it was a nice dessert.